Hi everyone, Arisa Dia here, and I'm here to do a new segment I like to call Book Nook Reviews, where I basically just review some of my favorite books. I've been a fan of reading for as long as I can remember, and I always like talking about books that I love, so I thought this was a perfect platform to get my opinion out there, and maybe you'll find a book that you like from watching these videos. So let's get started. First up, I'd like to review my probably favorite book at the moment. It's Fangirl by Rowell, and I just love this book so much. The book is basically about a really shy girl who is a twin, and she goes to college for the first time, and it's kind of about how she kind of finds herself, kind of. She's a really big fan fiction writer for this series called Simon Snow, which is kind of like Harry Potter to her. And she's really popular in the fan fiction community, especially for this one series. And so it's kind of about how she deals with the series coming to a close and getting her fan fiction out there while also trying to balance her school life, which she's trying to adjust to because she's really shy and college can be a very hectic place, as well as dealing with family issues that deal with her twin or her mother who left them when she was younger, and her dad who's not the most sane person on the planet. And it's a really good read. It's one of my favorites because it's probably the book I've related to the most in my life. And typically I'm not one for realistic fiction. I prefer fantasy because I like to get away from anything that could potentially remind me about my life. But Fangirl is the opposite. Fangirl is so similar to my life. Everything down to the description of the main character, Kath. Even they have a picture drawn of her, and it's described as she always wears her hair in messy buns or ponytails. She's always wearing graphic tees with cardigans and her glasses, and that's literally what I wore on an almost day-to-day basis throughout all of high school and a little bit of my freshman year of college. And it's what I'm wearing now because I thought it would match the book. But so just from the appearance alone I already related to her, but her actual just her actions and stuff really reminded me of myself. And I just thought it was really cool to have a book character who you don't really see a lot. A lot of the times main girl protagonists are either so in love and they just want to be popular, or if it's a more fantasy thing they're more strong, willing to fight, whereas this is about a girl who's literally on the verge of a mental breakdown throughout most of the book just because life is stressful, and she struggles a lot with getting out there and making friends, and her schoolwork, which one of her classes she was excited about taking at the beginning, and it was a creative writing class, and then as she went through it she ended up not liking it as much because she prefers writing fan fiction to creating her own stuff, which I kind of agree with because I'm actually taking creative writing classes in college, so I can kind of see where she's coming from for that. But it's also just really cute. I read this book my senior year of high school, and was it senior year? Either junior or senior year, I believe I read this book. It might have been junior year, but I became obsessed with it. I probably read the book at least 5 times, and I brought it to college with me because I kind of thought of it as my college Bible. If I was ever stressed at college, I could just think if Kath made it through, I can make it through. And I actually really just kind of wanted my freshman year of college to be like hers. And in some ways it kind of did. Like, my roommate is actually kind of reminds me of Kath's roommate mixed with Kath's twin, which is kind of interesting. But like, that's really good. I unfortunately didn't get the romance that Kath had. In the book, Kath does end up meeting a boy through her roommate named Levi, and they become friends, and they end up like developing a relationship, and Levi is just the sweetest guy. Like, he needs to be a real person because I want to date him. He is just so sweet and happy, and like, she compares him to a dog multiple times because he's just like a puppy. Like, he's so happy, like he smiles at everybody and is just genuinely like super nice, even to people who like you can tell are annoying him. He's just super nice to them, and it's just who he is as a person. And just like, the characters in it are all so good. Like, they're all very unique, and like they have their own style, and Rainbow Rowell goes like really in depth to the point where by the time you finish the book, you feel like you know each character like personally, like you know enough about them. And I love when like authors put in details like that. And just the storyline in general like is just really beautifully written. Like, it's very easy to relate to, especially if you're like a nerdy geek girl like I am. And it's just like, it's super easy to read. There's no like parts that are really confusing, and it all flows like well. Like, there's lots of like issues that Kath struggles with, but you can see like her thought process of like, okay, this is my issue, like what am I going to do, how am I going to get around this? And like, you get to like see her solve these problems and try to like put her life together, which I thought was like really cool. So that's part of why it's like one of my favorite books. It's just super relatable, and I typically hate relatable things for books because I like to not be reminded about my life when I read. But this one is definitely probably my favorite book I've ever read because it's super relatable. Like, when I'm reading it, I feel like I actually am Kath. And like, she and I kind of also have similar backgrounds. I don't want to get too much into her background because I don't want to spoil the book too much, but even like her family situation and stuff kind of reminds me of mine. So there's just like a ton of things about this book that just really resonated with me on a personal level, and that's mostly why I love this book. Like, it's really good. I would definitely recommend it. I would personally rate it 5 stars out of 5 stars, but granted, this is my favorite book at the moment and has been for the past like 2 years, so like, take that as you will. But I highly recommend reading it, especially if you love fan fiction. If you grew up reading the Harry Potter series and the Harry Potter series meant a ton to you, like that's kind of what Simon Snow is to her. And like, if you just like books that like are relatable and you're like a shy, quiet girl, especially like one who's about to go to college for the first time, like, I would definitely recommend reading this because it's so good. Like, it has comedy, romance, despair, sadness, anger, like everything you want in a book in one. So highly recommend it. So I'm gonna end it here, but once again, like, this is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Highly recommend. If you read it, let me know down in the comments what you thought about it. Who was your favorite character? And I hope you all have a great day. Love you. Bye.